Hi, I'm Rick Paris. Welcome to Conscious Reality Creator. Today I want to talk about the shadow because it's a very powerful part of yourself that you need to understand if you're on a spiritual path. You have to find all the places to take responsibility for, and your shadow is one of the most powerful places that you can take responsibility from that position. Common psychology sees the shadow as the dark part of yourself, the negative stuff, all the dark things I've hidden from myself, which that's true. But what they don't recognize is your dark shadow is only part of it. And it's not even the most powerful part of the shadow, because the shadow also has a light shadow. The shadow is born the moment you're born. It's not a complex. It's a living, breathing part of yourself, just as your child, your adolescent, your negative ego. It exists in the unconscious mind. And so this being, its job is to witness you and to be a suppository for all that you deny in yourself. The darker parts, the despair, the anger, the denial, the aggression that you hold, the negative ambitions that you're following, all the places in your life that you won't be responsible for are in the shadow. Now, those are the darker aspects. The light aspects are your power, your real sense of power, your real sense of to be a reliable person, the true nature of who I am as a human being, my true ability to love and be loved, the ability to be free of the past, the emotional dominion required to be a conscious reality creator, to be a spiritual adult, exists within the shadow. Your sense of responsibility is all in the light shadow. But the true, deepest nature of these parts of yourself, because as you were developing, you started denying parts of yourself. Like when I'm a child, before you're even verbal, you come into this experience fully receiving who you are and receiving life. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to know how to think, and I'm getting everything I need. These things slowly you put aside because the new paradigm you just entered isn't working the same way anymore. So you start denying the sense of self because it seems like it's not working in the reality for you. So you start taking that out. Your true deep sense of security that you came in with, you get lost, right? And since I'm pre-verbal and I'm small, if there wasn't an aspect of myself able to retrieve this and keep it for me so I could get it back again. And so the shadow also has lots of masks. It could be a betrayer. It could be your dream stealer. It could take all these different negative masks on because it's trying to show you something about yourself that you're wanting to know, that you're wanting to incorporate. You know, lots of people understand like, oh, somebody's being a jerk and that's just must be in my shadow and I'm going to deal with that now. That's only part of the work, is understanding that's like a projection. When I'm having a projection and somebody's being negative and I can understand that I'm projecting my negativity and it's coming back to me. But do you understand? The shadow's trying to get you to take responsibility for something. Like people who have suppressed their aggression. They have to create people in their reality that are very aggressive around them. Now, I'm not supposed to control those people. I'm supposed to be able to look and go, wow, that person's got so much aggression, so aggressive. And I do not do things that way because you have suppressed your aggression. So the aggression has to come out. There's nowhere for it to go. So the shadow creates issues, people to come up to show me my aggression so I can take responsibility for my own aggression. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is an ally. But you have to develop a relationship with it. So in order to develop a relationship with it, I have to recognize how it operates. Because if this part of myself that's picked up all the treasures, all the dark stuff that I don't like, it picks up too. It picks up everything that you are not able to respond to. And when you're a child, you're not able to respond to your emotions. When you hit adolescence, when puberty hits you, you are feeling things that you never felt before. So in your haste, in your trying to get control of the environment, you're dropping off the intensity of these emotions. I don't want that. I don't like that. And so if your shadow didn't pick them up, you'd never be able to find them again. You would just lose gifts. You would lose pieces of yourself. And the shadow is that part of yourself. It's the part that's been watching you all along, that loves you, that knows, oh, you're going to want this. You're not going to want to get rid of that. So it follows you and it carries them around and it creates experiences with you out of your unconscious. That's why so many times projections look like the way of the world, everybody's coming at me. Like Trump, oh my God, right? But there's a light side of that shadow in every time. For example, if you really hate Trump and you don't like what he's doing and he's just driving you nuts, you got a lot of shadow aspects in there. That's why the emotions that you're feeling don't really equate to the situation. I'm 10 times more mad than I ought to be about this, but I just fucking hate him. It's like if you were to write down everything you hated and did a list, not just think about it, but really wrote down a list and then started looking at that list and realized these are things that I need to take greater responsibility for. But the best part of the list comes after you're done with all the negative stuff you would make a list about Trump, for instance. In the end, when you're done, now what do you admire about him? Because as he carries all that dark shadow stuff, he also carries your light shadow, because there's always a duality in operation. You just don't want to see it one-sided. Because you might admire him, wow, he's just some crazy white boy who got to be president. I admire that about him. Or I admire the fact that he tweets all this crazy stuff, because he's not really by... You see, there is something that you admire about him. If there's something that you're getting triggered on the dark side, there's something to be known on the light side. And that carries more weight. But if I don't deal with the dark stuff, I'll never be able to access the lighter aspects of the shadow. The shadow is the direct mortal enemy to your negative ego. Because your negative ego is based in going after the idealized self, not the real self. Your shadow holds all the pieces of your real self. Like I said, the real sense of security that I lost somewhere growing up. My real sense of passion. My real sense of love. My real sense of reliability. My real sense of responsibility. My real ability to let go of the past. You know, children can do it all the time. That's what's so beautiful. No matter how shitty you are, they'll forgive you and love you again tomorrow. Those real senses, those abilities are lost, and they're in your shadow. They're not gone. So if you can develop a relationship with this part of yourself, you create the environment to be able to respond to my life on a much deeper level. When you're negative, when you start looking at this, your negative ego is going to be like, that's enough, you get it, that's good enough, because your negative ego doesn't want you to keep digging into the shadow, because you're going to find your true strength and you're going to find the truth about what's going on, and you're not going to listen to the negative ego, and the negative ego is terrified that you're going to do that. So it's not going to want you to get too involved in this shadow work. It's going to try to convince you that that's enough, you got it, you got this, you don't need to keep digging. And so you want to watch your negative ego, but to know that they're directly opposing each other. Your compulsive behaviors, just always flipping out about the same thing all the time, that is an indicator that's part of your shadow trying to speak to you. You know, I've used this example because it's just a good one, you know, and you're in traffic and you have a lot of road rage and somebody doesn't hit their blinker and you're going off and you get home and you're still bitching about it. 10 miles later, 45 minutes later, I'm still mad at this person with the blinker thing. That's your shadow trying to communicate to you. There's a level of emotionality. Of course, you've got to figure out what that is, but maybe it is your aggression. I'm not comfortable with my own aggression. I suppressed my own aggression so long ago that I create aggressive people all around me in order for me to recognize that I need to have a responsible channel for my aggression. And since it's got to come through your measuring devices, it's going to come looking negative. It's going to come like aggression is this bad thing and people need to get a handle, control their aggression. You've been controlling it your whole life. And so these qualities, like when I can understand my shadow is trying to let me know what I've hidden. Now I have a relationship with a part of mine that I can become a much more honestly motivated person by understanding my shadow, to understand my projections, my compulsive behaviors. In those projections, you want to look at the high side and the low side, because most of the time people can see the projections of how much they hate things. But like you can be projecting on someone love, like, oh my God, like men do it all the time. They put a woman on a pedestal and she's just perfect in every way. And then that's a tough place to be because they don't know you, they don't see you. And so if I think everything's beautiful and there's nothing wrong with you, I don't know you because everybody has things that I would see as wrong. Of course, those are your job to change those beliefs. But in the middle of it, you need to recognize the things, too much love, too much high, that's a projection too. So make sure you're understanding both sides. We live in a duality, and if I'm not checking both sides of the duality constantly, I could be leaving a tremendous amount of power on the table. I could be thinking I'm being all loving and being really just locked in a projection. I don't even know this person. I'm just imagining that they're the most perfect thing in the world and I don't want to see anything else. That's not healthy either. In order to work with your shadow, you have to understand that it operates through the unconscious mind. It lives in the unconscious mind. And for it to do that, you have to pay attention to the way the unconscious mind communicates. The unconscious mind communicates to you as the way of the world, or the way that men are, or the way that women are, or the way that Republicans are, or it comes through you in a very wide bandwidth, usually. Not all the time. It also comes through you in the projections with intimates. Okay, not usually so much with people you don't care about. So it's like in a play, you know, your principal characters are the people that the shadow is going to communicate through more than just quick experiences with people that don't matter to you. For instance, if you dropped your will when you were younger and you need that back to be a fully actualized person, you're going to create altercations with people with will. Like everybody's trying to boss me. Everybody forces me over. I'm just like a wet noodle. I never stand up for myself. I don't have it's in your shadow. You're not aware of it. You've put it down and your shadows help give you new realities coming at you to let you know that I don't have my will, but it's in the shadow. So the shadow is a witness when you're born. It's similar to the ego. It's watching you, it's making notes, but it's keeping pieces. Your negative ego doesn't keep anything. The only thing your negative ego does is use your belief constructs against you. So your shadow talks to you through relationships. It talks to you through the world in a big picture way. Like I said, when you see men a certain way or you see women a certain way. So the shadow is a part of yourself that is an access point to tremendous power and honesty, because your shadow is keeping all the pieces that you denied of yourself, you repressed in yourself, you removed your powers, your reliability, your responsibility, your attachment, your forgiveness. You want all these powerful qualities that you have put down inadvertently because you didn't know how to deal with them when you were younger. So the shadow is this ally who's been holding it, waiting for you to take responsibility, because almost everything in physical life is a choice. Everything is a choice on some level, except responsibility. Responsibility, you don't have a choice around responsibility. The only choice you have is when, not if. So if I'm going to be self-actualized and I'm going to be a powerful person, I've got to go back and create a relationship with this aspect, to personify this part of myself in meditation, to go in there and connect with it and get it to give me these things. Because the more I recognize in my world that this is a part of myself, the more I can go outside and say, I understand by the aggression that I'm seeing that I have a lot of stuck aggression and I want it back. I want to understand my own aggression. I need to be able to communicate my own aggression in a positive way. If I think all aggression is bad, that's not going to work. I have to understand everything has a high side and a low side. It's about understanding that, putting the low side down and picking up the high side. The shadow is the part of yourself that's keeping all that for you. It loves you. It wants you to be powerful. Its only existence is to not forget who you were, to not forget who you came here to be. And it's the place that you go to get those pieces back. All the pieces of yourself, good and bad. Your greatest gifts are hidden in your shadow. And it's just waiting for you to take them back. And you're waiting on many levels to go after that. So that's why it's an imperative on the spiritual path. I need to retrieve myself. And the places that I'm missing are there. And to the exaggerated emotions, to the projections, to the players in my life, are how I find out what's been repressed and what I'm able to retrieve from there. So go get your gifts back. Own that. Be responsible. Be powerful.